Hi friends, please subscribe and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. It's just one click for you, but it means the world to me. Your support and motivation keep me going. A huge thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. I hope you enjoy today's story. Peter walked into the house, took off his coat, and hung it carefully on a hook by the door. Silence, broken only by the soft hum of the refrigerator, greeted him instead of the usual smell of dinner and the sounds of the radio that Lily usually turned on. He went into the kitchen and took a beer out of the fridge, thoughtfully turning it in his hands. One thought was racing through his head. Something was wrong. Lily rarely stayed at work this late, and when she did, she always let him know in advance. His phone vibrated, tearing him out of his thoughts. Lily's name appeared on the screen. "Une, are you home yet?" Her voice was cheerful, but there was some uncertainty in it. "Yes, I am. Where are you?" Peter tried to speak calmly, but there was tension in his voice. "I'm on my way. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I have something important to discuss," Lily said, her voice trembling slightly. "Discuss? Lily, what's going on?" Peter squinted out the window, as if trying to see her face through the darkness outside. "Just stay home, okay? And Peter, remember that I love you." He felt his blood pound in his temples. Something about her tone was wrong. "Lily, you re-scaring me. Are you okay?" His voice dropped, almost to a whisper. "Yeah, that's going to be okay," she said quickly and hung up. A little over 20 minutes passed when Peter heard the front door open. Lily walked into the house, a little hesitant in her movements. Her hair was disheveled. There was a smear of lipstick on her face, and her tights were missing. Peter raised his eyebrows. "Hard day? You look tired." His words were dry. Lily walked up to him and, without waiting for his reaction, hugged him, pressed herself to his chest, and whispered, "Peter, we need to talk. This is important." Peter took a step back, looked her up and down, and frowned. "What should we talk about, Lily?" His voice trembled with suppressed anger. Lily looked down, sighed heavily, and began to speak. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about our life lately. We've been together for 5 years now, and in that time, she hesitated, her fingers began to nervously fidget with the hem of her skirt. "I felt like something was missing in our lives." Peter stared at her in confusion. This was not what he expected to hear. "Something missing?" "Lily, we've always had our difficulties like everyone else, but I thought we were coping." "What are you talking about?" His eyes flashed with pain. She continued without looking up. "I started talking to Simon about it. He told me that a lot of people feel this way, and he suggested we try something new. We discussed it in his office. He convinced me that sometimes women and their husbands find new meaning in their relationships through—" Peter's hand shot up. "Simon? Your boss? You mean you—" The words caught in his throat. "No, Peter, I did not sleep with him. But there were moments. Today he brought me home, and Lily sobbed, her voice shaking, touched me." Peter took a step back, as if struck. "You let him do that?" The question sounded like an accusation, and his voice rang out like steel. "Yes. But I do not know what came over me. It was like an obsession. He said that you could be a part of this, that we could all—" Peter clenched his fists and turned away abruptly, his shoulders shaking with rage. "You retelling me that someone I do not even know came here, hugged my wife, and told me to sit and watch. You think that's okay?" His words broke the silence, anger and disappointment in them. Lily cringed at his words. "Peter, I was wrong. I came home because I realized it. I came to tell you that I love only you, and that I want to keep us." His eyes darkened, and he came so close to her that she could feel his breath. "You love me? Lily, I do not even know who you are." Peter stood in the living room, leaning back in his chair, his heart pounding. Lily's words he just heard echoed in his head like hammer blows. Lily took a step toward him, trying to take his hand, but he jerked it away. "Do not touch me." His voice was low and full of contempt. "Peter, please hear me out." Lily clenched her hands so hard that her nails left marks on her skin. "What else can you say?" Peter looked at her with such a mixture of pain and disbelief that Lily stepped back. "Are you going to tell me how far you went with this Simon guy?" or that you might have imagined him coming into our lives and ruining them completely. No. Her voice shook. I wanted to say that I stopped, that I could not do anything more serious. It all started as a silly fantasy. Simon, he was just strong, confident, and I succumbed to his influence. Peter pushed the chair away. It fell to the floor with a thud. Strong and confident? You think confidence justifies betrayal? Lily, you were my wife, my friend, my everything. How could you even let him approach you? He almost shouted, his voice breaking the silence of the room. Lily began to cry, but the tears did not evoke sympathy in him. On the contrary, they only fueled his anger. Peter, I'm confused. It was not me. This whole thing, it got out of control, and I lost touch with reality. I thought that this way I could bring us back to life, bring back the passion. But I was wrong. Her voice broke, and she sank helplessly onto the couch. Peter clutched his temples with his hands, trying to drown out the chaos in his head. The room seemed to be getting smaller, and the air was getting heavier. Passion? You mean the passion you wanted to get back by letting another man touch you? You have no idea what it's like to have your life ruined. Peter stepped to the window, yanked it open, and took a deep breath of the cool night air. Lily tried to stand up and speak again, but the sound of tires on the gravel driveway stopped her. They both looked out the window and saw a car, its headlights shining brightly into their house. Simon was behind the wheel. Peter grinned evilly. Here he is. Looks like your hero has decided to show up to finish what he started. Well, let us see how confident he is when he meets me. Lily jumped up from the couch and grabbed Peter's hand. Please do not. Please, Peter, I'm afraid of what you'll do. He jerked his hand away. Afraid? It is strange that you were not afraid when you let him invade our marriage. He turned to the door and walked out of the house without looking back. Simon was sitting behind the wheel, his head bowed, scrolling through something on his phone. The light from the screen illuminated his face, the expression calm and confident. Peter walked up to the car and knocked sharply on the window. Simon looked up, his lips curled into a smug grin. There, Peter, you know now. I'm glad we'll have a chance to discuss this. Simon slowly rolled down the window. Do you really think you can come in here and dictate terms? Peter leaned in, his face inches from Simon's. Do you think I'm going to let you ruin my life? Peter, relax. Simon leaned back in his seat, looking at the man in front of him with a defiant expression. I'm just offering new perspectives. Lily is sure you find them interesting too. Calm down before you do something you'll regret. Peter silently slammed his hand on the car door, leaving a dent. Simon flinched, his confidence instantly gone. You do not understand that you have no business here, and you have no right to destroy what took years to build. Peter looked into Simon's eyes, searching for at least a shadow of remorse, but found only fear. Okay, I get it. Calm down. Simon's voice wavered. He looked away. Peter straightened up abruptly, walked around the car, and slammed his fist into the hood, making Simon flinch. Get out of here before it is too late. Peter opened the driver's door, grabbed Simon by the collar, and pulled him out. And remember, if I see you near Lily again, you'll regret this. Simon staggered, looking at Peter with a scared determination. You see not stop her if she wants you to, he hissed, adjusting his shirt. Peter nodded slowly, looking into his eyes. You wrong. You wrong, Simon, Peter said coldly, not taking his eyes off the man in front of him. There was no shouting or threatening in his voice, only the confidence of a man who finally understood what he had to do. This ends here and now. Simon tried to maintain the last of his confidence, but Peter could see his hands shaking. He stepped back and stood near the door, intending to get into the car and drive away, but Peter blocked his way. Look, Peter, Simon began to soften, his voice hoarse, as if he had just realized that the situation was out of his control. Let us talk calmly. This is not how it was supposed to be. We can work this out. Peter frowned and shook his head. Calmly? You invaded my life using your power and influence. You convinced my wife that I was some kind of weakling and tried to turn her into your tool. No, Simon, calm is not going to happen anymore. Simon swallowed, his smug mask finally slipping. He knew that words would not help here anymore. Peter, I did not know it would go this far. Lily herself. Peter cut him off, clenching his fists. Do not you dare say her name, as if you have any idea what it meant for her to be a part of my life. He took a step forward, and Simon reflexively stepped back, hitting his back against the car. The slam of the front door made them both turn around. Lily was standing on the porch, her eyes full of horror. Peter, please stop, she screamed, her voice shaking. This would not solve anything. On the contrary, Lily, it solves everything. Peter did not turn his head, continuing to look Simon straight in the eyes. You brought him into our home, into our lives. Now all I have to do is drag him back out and make sure he never crosses that line again. Simon knew it was time to go. He abruptly lunged for the car door, sat down in the seat, and started to turn on the ignition, his hands shaking so badly that the keys were slipping out of his fingers. Peter took a step forward, but Lily stopped him, clinging to his hand. Peter, please, I beg you. Her eyes were shining with tears. I understand how much I messed up. I did not think. I did not understand. He looked at her as if he was seeing her for the first time. Did not understand? Lily, you knew what you were doing, every word, every gesture. You chose this, but now I choose. Simon finally started the car and, without waiting for further developments, slammed on the gas and drove away, disappearing into the night. Lily watched him go, then turned her gaze to Peter. Peter, I want to fix everything. I am ready to do anything to bring us back. Bring us back? Peter shook his head slowly. Lily, you destroyed us. Not Simon, not anyone else but you. You did it yourself, allowing him to come into our lives and question everything. How can you talk about coming back? She tried to find the words, but every time she opened her mouth, she could not utter a sound. Peter saw the fear and pain in her eyes, and something deep inside him stirred. But it was not enough. I think we need time. Time to figure out what's left of what we built. If there is anything left. His voice grew quieter, and he looked away. Peter, please. Lily whispered, reaching out to him, but he had already turned away and headed back into the house. I've heard enough. Peter closed the door and leaned back against it, trying to catch his breath. A storm was raging inside him, as if all the emotions he had suppressed for years had burst out. Lily's muffled sobs could be heard outside. Her voice trembled, calling to his heart, but for him it already sounded like an echo of something distant and irretrievably lost. Peter, please open up. We say not leave this like this. Her voice rang out again, barely audible through the barrier. He closed his eyes and clenched his fists for a moment, feeling his nails digging into his palms. Suddenly, he heard Lily start knocking on the door. Peter, do not leave me, do not do this. I know I made a mistake, but this is not the end. We can talk, we can find a way out. Her voice was becoming more and more desperate. He opened his eyes and looked at the door, behind which was the woman he loved, and who had so easily destroyed their connection. Suddenly, he felt a surge of determination. Peter stepped away from the door and turned the lock. It swung open, and Lily stood before him. There were traces of tears on her face. Her eyes were red, but there was still hope in them. Talk, Peter repeated quietly, looking at her with a cold expression. Okay, let us talk. Lily stepped inside, trembling and clasping her hands in front of her. I know there is no excuse for what I did. I let myself get carried away. Simon, he just knew what to say. He understood my weaknesses, manipulated me. But that means nothing compared to us. Her voice was full of despair. She was trying to convince not only Peter, but herself as well. Peter abruptly walked up to her and grabbed her by the shoulders. Nothing? You stand here, telling me that betrayal and lies mean nothing? Do you think I'm so blind that I believe that? His voice was a hoarse whisper, filled with pain. Lily flinched back, but did not try to break away. She took a deep breath and pressed her lips together, as if trying to gather up every last bit of courage. Peter, I do not want to lose you. I'm willing to do anything to prove that I still love you. Her voice broke, and she tried to touch his hand again. We can start over. Give me a chance to make it right. He released her shoulders as if they were hot coals and turned away. Rage was boiling in his chest, but behind it was a deep, black emptiness. Peter paced the room, trying to catch his breath. Start over? What about trust, Lily? Do you think it can just be restored? He turned to face her, his expression bitter. You turned me into a stranger, made me question every moment we shared. I know I hurt you. She took a step forward, her eyes pleading for forgiveness. But think about what we had. Are you really willing to throw it all away? Peter chuckled, but there was no joy in his smile. What are you talking about, Lily? Our plans for the future? Our conversations at night? Laughing and dreaming? Are all of those just memories to you now? You did not just destroy my trust. You destroyed a way of life I was confident in. Lily began to cry again, silently this time. She hung her head, her shoulders shaking. I tried. I thought I knew what I was doing, she whispered. Peter turned to face her abruptly, determination shining in his eyes. I'm not going to listen to any more excuses. All I hear is an attempt to justify what you did. But you know what's the worst part? You actually thought that I would accept this, that I would become part of your game. Lily looked up, her face frozen in horror. I never thought it would be like this. I do not know what I thought, her voice drowned in sobs. And I know what I think now, Peter said, his voice icy. We redone, Lily. I see A not trust you anymore. I see A not be with you. You ruined everything we had. No, please, Peter. Do not say that. Lily rushed to him, hugging him around the waist and pressing herself against his chest. Do not leave me, I beg you. I'll do whatever you want. Peter closed his eyes, frozen for a moment under her touch. Memories flashed through his mind. Their first kiss, the days they fought and made up, the moments they laughed together. But those images were quickly replaced by the memory of her words, of how easily she had allowed another person into their lives. He slowly pushed her away. You made your choice, Lily. Now I make mine. He turned toward the door without looking back. Go away. She stood still, watching him leave the room. His footsteps echoed loudly in the house that had once been their shared world. Lily stood in the empty living room, her arms wrapped around herself as if to protect herself from the piercing cold that had suddenly filled the house. Peter left, leaving behind a silence filled with her own sobs. She staggered and, finding support in the back of the sofa, sank down onto it, feeling her legs give out. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time lost its meaning. She looked at the photographs arranged on the shelves, where they were both smiling. Pictures from their travels, from picnics for holidays. It all seemed fake now, an empty reminder of what they had lost. Peter, she whispered, as if hoping that he was still there and would hear her. But in response, there was only an echo of her own voice, weak and desperate. The door opened again, and Peter walked in. Lily lifted her head, her eyes filled with hope. You're back, she whispered, but she immediately noticed that he was holding a box. He walked slowly past her toward the bedroom and disappeared through the door. A few minutes later, he emerged with Lily's things, neatly folded into the same box. Peter, what are you doing? Her voice broke again, but now there was panic in it. I am giving you time. You asked to talk, and I agreed, he said, not meeting her gaze. His movements were mechanical, almost lifeless. But now I see A not stay here and watch you try to find excuses for what happened. Lily came closer, her steps hesitant. We see A not end it like this, Peter. This is our home, our place. You said you'd always fight for us, remember? He finally looked up at her, and Lily saw a mixture of pain and final determination in his eyes. I fought, Lily, more than you can imagine. I gave this marriage everything I had. But you seem to think differently when you brought Simon into our world. You destroyed us the moment you let him come anywhere near us. She tried to reach out to him, but he retreated, avoiding her touch. You do not understand what it was like for me, she continued. I was confused, looking for something that seemed to be missing. But I realized I was wrong, Peter. I do not want to lose you. Peter put the box down and leaned against the wall, his head down. What do you want me to say, Lily? That I forgive you? That I can live with the idea that every time you work late or someone calls your name, ILL think of him? He looked up, his eyes hard, with deep lines on his forehead. She was silent, unsure of what to say. The words that had felt right and reassuring were beyond her reach. Instead, she looked at him and saw this man she knew and loved turning into a stranger. You wanted me to understand that I could not be the way you thought I was, that I was not Simon or anyone else. I am me, Peter, the man who loved you with all my heart. His voice shook, but he kept it together. But now I understand that love is not enough. You broke my trust. Lily broke down and began to cry. Do not say that. Trust can be restored. It can be worked on. We can go to a counselor, talk, find ways to... Peter shook his head and took a step toward the door. Maybe trust can be restored when a person really wants it. But I do not see that you understand the depth of your mistake, Lily. You still think that it can be fixed with talk, with promises. But we have no basis to start from. She suddenly felt like she could not breathe. Peter's words hit her heart like cold blows. She tried to find some kind of explanation that would make him change his mind, but nothing came to mind. And now what? Her voice was barely audible. ULL, just leave? He looked at her, his eyes full of sadness. No, you re the one who is leaving. For a while or forever, it is up to both of us. But right now, I see a not be with you. I need time to collect myself, he nodded at the box. Take your things and think about what you really want. Lily walked up to the box, as if it were Pandora's box. She took it in her hands and looked at Peter one last time, hoping to see at least a shadow of doubt. But his face remained firm. I hope you understand, Lily. But even if you understand, I'm not sure I can come back. Lily walked slowly out the door, holding the box in her hands. The twilight had already begun to cover the street with a cold blue, and it seemed to her that the darkness, spreading, was swallowing not only the light, but also the remains of her hope. She turned around one last time, but Peter was already standing, turned away, his shoulders tense, as if he was holding back the last remnants of emotion. She walked to her car, trying not to drop the box that contained her things, reminders of a life that had seemed eternal to her just a few hours ago. Lily got behind the wheel and closed the door, feeling the pain squeeze her chest. She looked in the rearview mirror for a few more seconds, hoping to see his silhouette on the porch, but the house stood empty and dark. Turning on the engine, Lily quietly pulled out of the driveway and slowly rolled down the street. Every meter moved her away from the house where she once felt protected, where every corner kept memories of laughter, joy, and warmth. Now this place had become a symbol of her mistakes. Peter stood in the empty living room, listening to the sound of the engine driving away until the silence swallowed him completely. He exhaled, feeling the tension leave his body, leaving behind emptiness and fatigue. It seemed that with each passing moment his heart was slowing down, becoming heavier. He went to the window and looked out at the street where the car was no longer there. For the first time in many years, he was alone in this house. Peter sat down on the couch, resting his head on his hands. Memories began to flash through his mind. How he and Lily had repapered the bedroom for the first time, laughing at how ridiculous they looked with glue in their hair, how they had chosen a tree together for Christmas and had long conversations late into the night. All of this now seemed part of someone else's life, a life that no longer existed. Suddenly his phone vibrated on the table, making Peter flinch. He slowly picked it up and looked at the screen. The text from his friend, Mark, read, "Hey man, how are you? Have not heard from you in a while. Want to grab a beer?" Peter stared at the text for a moment before typing back. "Mark, hi. Yeah, it would be nice to meet up. Let me know when and where." He hit send and put the phone down, feeling something inside him begin to move. Not pain, but a desire to escape, to no longer be a prisoner of this emptiness. The next day was excruciatingly slow. Lily spent the night in a hotel, barely sleeping a wink. She sat on the edge of her bed, hugging herself and looking out the window at the first light of the morning sun illuminating the city. She did not know what to do next. Work did not matter anymore, and the thought of going back to the office and facing Simon made her want to gag. All she wanted was to go back to Peter and start over. His words echoed in her head. "You broke my trust." They were like hammer blows, making every move she made seem useless. But Lily knew that giving up now would be the biggest mistake of her life. She had to try, even if her chances of success were slim. She dialed his number, but when she heard the ringing tone, she panicked. Too early. He was not ready yet. She quickly hung up and put the phone down, feeling hot tears starting to roll down her cheeks. Peter was sitting at a table in the cafe across from Mark, who was studying him closely. Ordering a second beer, Mark finally spoke. "You look terrible, Peter. What happened?" He tried to smooth over the awkwardness with a joke, but saw Peter's jaw clench. Everything happened. Peter looked up at his friend and sighed slowly. "Lily betrayed me. I found out that let us just say she had a relationship with her boss." Mark frowned and put the bottle aside. "Shit. Sorry, buddy. I did not know. You acted like everything was fine." He put a hand on Peter's shoulder, showing that he was ready to support him. "I did not know it had gone this far." Peter chuckled slightly, but there was no joy in it. "Now I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Live alone? Start over?" Mark nodded, his face turning serious. "Look, no one is going to tell you that this will be easy, and no one is going to tell you that you have to do this alone. We've been friends for years, and I'm here for you like always." Peter nodded, feeling something like relief for the first time in days. Even if it was just for a moment, his friend's support had awakened a spark in him. "Thanks, Mark. It means a lot," he replied quietly and looked out the window again, where familiar life flowed past, as if suggesting that every new beginning requires a step forward. Lily sat on a park bench where she and Peter often spent Sunday mornings, talking about their plans for the future. She watched the children playing on the playground, their laughter filling the air with joy. But for her, it was a bitter reminder of what she had lost. "I have to try," she whispered to herself, wiping away her tears. Her heart clenched in pain, but her determination burned within her. She knew that her path to forgiveness would be difficult, but she could not bear to remain inactive. Peter was returning home at that moment, and as he opened the door, he smelled the faint scent of her perfume. The memory of Lily made his heart ache again, but he sighed and stepped forward, accepting the unknown future. And that's where today's story ends. Thank you for watching to the end. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to like and comment. We'd love to discuss this story with you. See you in the next video.